What's up, guys? Welcome to Off the Reservation, a podcast where we like to turn the beat around. I'm Mal.
I'm El.
And I'm the son of Picasso.
I didn't know that was coming.
You didn't? I wanted to surprise you guys.
I thought to myself, hey, that's good. Turn the beat around.
Turn the beat around.
Now I want to sing.
The classic, disco. Disco's where it's at.
Disco.
Maybe not all the disco.
Well, we hope you guys are all doing well this week.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. And I think we got a cool show for you guys today.
Most definitely. I mean, so on the turning the beat around, I mean, I remember growing up and our dad, I think had the most inspiration on like my musical taste because he was into some of the classics like the Beatles, the Bee Gees.
He had a real eclectic like taste in music. He would go from like real like crazy acid rock, like Black Sabbath, and then drop it down like you said with like the Bee Gees, and I think that affected our, I guess, music taste as we grew up. Definitely.
I mean, like, I don't know, like what you got into, Elliot, but I mean, like for us, I mean, like from like I remember whenever we went on trips to go to any art shows, like Dad would always put in, what was it, the Bee Gees. He'd put in John Denver. I remember listening to a lot of John Denver.
See, when I was growing up, it was cool because he listened to like just random music, and then as like hip hop started to evolve, they started to take samples out of all of these different genres. And so I'd be listening to like, something on the radio, and then you would hear a sample and I'm like, whoa, I heard that listening with my dad, and know like that was like from the Beatles, or they took like Donna Summer's disco album and like change it around. And, that was cool because it gave you like a personal, I guess, feeling with music. It made you feel like it was made just for you almost, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And in case listeners, you haven't realized it today, we're talking about music and just kind of music, I guess, what it means to each of us,
means to each of us, and just like the kind of music that we got into, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, for us, like I feel like our father's taste in music was pretty big, but it also led us to like, because of our Christian upbringing, we got into, what was it, like Reliant K.
Back when pop rock was like back in the early 2000s, pop rock.
See, that was more you guys. I can't. Say like that was me. I never really got into that.
Yeah. Well, you grew up in the 90s, right? I mean, the 90s, early 90s was like,
you were conscious in the 90s.
Yeah, I was still
unconscious.
Yeah. But like the 90s was like, that was a big hip hop renaissance, right?
It was. The grunge scene also was really big.
Oh yeah.
Like at that time, like especially in Albuquerque, it was like a melting pot. Like there was like essays hanging out with like, gangsters, and like hanging out with like skaters and like Rastas and just all kinds of people. Like, and so like you listen to different kinds of genres of music. You'd be listening to like NWA, and then all of a sudden like Nirvana would come on, and and then after that Tupac would be playing, and it would just the vibe just hit of just, I mean, anti-establishment, and I think that's where a lot of my, I guess, rebellion was fostered through music,
And see, like I got my music from our father, but then eventually, like as I got older, I got my music from you. And I remember the first CD like you kind of bequeathed on me was Green Day's Dookie album.
Oh, that was a good album.
And
I think I got that album from you.
And like, well, I remember like Basket Case and all those other songs like were the angry, like I feel like the beginning of like my emo phase, because it was like, nobody understands me, I hate you all, I'm gonna go and be myself over here, you can't tell me what to do. And I mean, then we got like everyone else that came out during that time, like My Chemical Romance, and all those other bands.
Yeah. I remember early Weezer. I liked early Weezer.
Early Weezer.
Yeah, like the Blue Album, and even Pinkerton, which isn't like, it's come around now, but it wasn't like very well accepted. But like, I mean, I didn't like discover those bands until later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause they were all like, I was only like 10. You know what I mean? When they were like getting big. You know, so like it wasn't until like, you know, like I was, I don't know, 13, 14 when I really started to like branch out and like figure out like the kind of music that I liked, you know.
Well, it was all about the consumption of music and how it changed. Because for you actually had to come across it. You were more of like a introduced to it by either like the radio or going to, I don't know, like album stores or like whatever place.
You know, at the same time though, it was like right when technology was changing.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Like
Right on the cusp, right?
my generation, we would like call into the radio and be like, "Yo, play the new Biggie," and then like we'd be sitting there with like the like dual recorder and like press record, you know, so you could get your mixtape. And then all of a sudden it was like overnight, all of a sudden Napster was like it, and you could get almost
Napster.
anything to everything.
Yeah, CDs, and then CDs, came in, and then you started burning CDs. Someone had one copy.
LimeWire was huge, and that's how
yeah,
everyone
I do
got
remember LimeWire.
How many viruses you got?
all the viruses.
Well, no. So I remember. Okay, so your parents actually bought me my first iPod. It was an iPod Shuffle, and I was so psyched. It was only like, I think it was like,
Was it the Nano?
yeah, it was the
Nano.
It was the Nano. No, it was the Shuffle. And
Oh,
it
the Shuffle.
It was a little square one.
You got like
you know?
600 of your favorite songs.
I think it can only do 300 songs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And some of my songs were
Times
long.
were tough.
So yeah, it was like because previous to that, like if you wanted to listen to music, you had to have a CD player, you know, and then you had to carry a bag of CDs or have your
It like required like all kinds of equipment.
yeah, you know, you have to have batteries, you have to have your like, you know, it's and I remember the cool thing was like when CD players started to get in their like anti-shock, you know,
Anti-shock.
so that you could walk around with it and it wouldn't like skip. And yeah, you know, so that was earlier, and then even before that, it was like Walkmans, with your cassettes, you know,
Cassette players.
yeah. And so, anyways, yeah. So I remember when I got my first iPod. Oh man, I was so excited, you know. And we had like a family computer, so it was really slow, and
Yeah.
it was
Dial
really
up.
hard to like. Yeah, it was really hard to like get music onto the thing. You know what I mean? Because it was
Yeah.
like I had to plug it into the computer. I had to make sure I had the latest software for iTunes, and then I had to like, and because it was cool because there was a little bit more like, what's the word? Like you had more control over
Yeah.
iTunes back then because it wasn't as like strictly like, I don't know,
You had to
monitored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you could like import like all of these like songs you got from somebody else's
Oh
iPod.
yeah, like
And I remember you gave me, I basically got all of your songs that you had on your computer at the time, and I
Yeah.
think most of them, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if you paid for those or not, but we won't go into that. But like I
LimeWire
remember,
was a big hit.
I remember, and like so, like one of the first albums I remember listening to that I really, really got into on my shuffle was Kanye West, Graduation.
Graduate.
Oh, yeah.
And I
That
was
a
like,
good one.
oh, this is such a good album, you know?
yeah.
And it was cool because it was there in your pocket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean,
his first song was Good Morning.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I people say that, you know, some of his earlier work was really good, and some people like his work afterwards. That album, like for
was
me, like that was peak.
Yeah.
You know, I like almost every song on that album is great.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was the interesting thing, because up until we got to the point where we could like have what was it like the 300 songs, the, you know, the triple digit songs, you had whatever they put on a CD, which was like what, like maybe at the most like 12.
Oh yeah,
12 or
and then
15?
like there was one single that was good, one sort of good song, and then the rest was just crap. And you're like, I don't want to listen to this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, because that was all you had, you listened to it because I mean, what else are you gonna listen
I guess
to?
you were forced to listen to it because you paid for it.
Well, so like that's weird you say that because that's like something I do, and it's not something that my wife does. But I'm like, if someone puts an album out, I'm gonna listen to the whole album in the way that it is
Yeah.
presented. You know what I mean? And with Spotify and Apple Music and Pandora, it makes it so easy for people to just click shuffle and
Yeah.
you listen to every whatever anything. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It just pops songs up. It's like a radio. You know what I mean? But for me, like because of the way it was when we grew up and having CDs and like having a full album list, and even with the iPod Shuffle, like you had to put. I put songs in order. I didn't make a playlist. I'm not good
Yeah.
at making playlists, but I just put album after album after album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, if I didn't want to listen to it, I'd hit shuffle and whatever, like it shuffled around. But for the most part, like when I listen to an album, I listen to it from the start to the end. You know what I mean? Like
The
and
way
that's just-
God meant for it to be.
and that's just like, and I realize that I think that's might just kind of speak to how I grew up at the time that we grew up. Like you said, like CDs, you had a CD, you only carried like 2 of them with you.
Well,
And it was
can
like,
you imagine trying to shuffle a cassette? Like you can't shuffle a cassette.
oh yeah, it's true too. Yeah, you have to like fast forward it as best you
Yeah.
can. And you know.
Oh,
stop.
and then if it unraveled,
Oh yeah,
like everyone always talks about like how like our parents' generation had to use the pencil to rewind up a thing. I mean, I remember my first cassette was, I think it was Charlie Brown Christmas songs or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I think it was like a red cassette, and like I had a giant, little kid's cassette player. And I mean, that was like one of my favorite things.
Like you guys talking about cassettes, it kind of takes me back to like one of my first hustles when I was a kid was like, you know how like our dad ran all the church equipment for the sound equipment. I would tell kids like, all right, $5, bring me your own tape. I'll dub any tape for you. Cause like he had one of those fast dubbers. And so they would give me a tape and like their money. And then I would go to church on like Wednesday night or whatever. And I'd sit there and like dub that whole tape for them or whatever they wanted.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like 10 years old, you're like, hey, come on.
Had like a
$5.
stack of tapes and like a big old wad of cash just from like bootleg Jay-Z albums.
So, hey, it's time to go. You're like, give me a minute here, right? I'm working.
That's funny.
But like, and then, growing up also like the times have changed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, again, I think I said this before, cause we were talking about like kids with like their phones now and they have
Yeah.
like cameras and all that. That's crazy to think that like we didn't have that stuff. You know what I mean? When we were younger, like it was just coming out, and to have a phone was like, you could make a call. Maybe you could like go to Google
and you
that's
could
it,
maybe text.
Maybe, yeah. And then, you could text, and you had a really like
Only after 9
crappy
o'clock.
camera. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then you had to like, you're rationing your text messages unless you had the unlimited plan, which was like crazy
Ridiculous.
expensive. Yeah. But like,
And then it was 10 cents a text.
Yeah.
And so if you did send a text, your parents automatically knew you were texting somebody, and then you're like,
Do you remember like you could buy songs through text messages or something like that?
yeah, I
like
remember
back-
there being, yeah.
Yeah, or like ringtones.
Oh, ringtones,
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
it was. You could
Ringtones.
get like
Yeah.
a ringtone text.
But like I remember, I was thinking about that because like, yeah, I remember getting my first iPod, and it was a shuffle, and there was no screen, and you had to like, the cool thing was like, they had the buttons for like,
Yeah.
like
Forward,
and back,
play.
volume up and down, and then play. And then if you hit them like in a certain sequence, like, you could do like something else, and it was kind of cool. But just to think now, right? Like kids is like first like phones can do that all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can play music. It's a camera. It's like, man, these kids have everything.
well, they have phones for kids to be able to like trash and not like little play phones. Like I remember, what was it, like 2 years ago, they had this one phone that it was like, get your child a phone. It basically calls 911 and calls another important person and can send text messages to their friend. buy it now. And it's like a super bare bones basic. And like, I mean, we were growing up with adult people phones, like trying to type, "Hey, how's it going?" by pressing, the buttons like multiple times. Like, if you wanted to say "Hey," you have to press it a couple times.
That's the T9 crew.
Yeah, T9. Yeah. Well, then it was funny, right? Because you only had so many characters, and if it was costing you 10 cents a text message,
That's where like text, like
that's the
text language came. It was
B4.
like,
Yeah. It's like you had to get crafty with your words because you're trying to save the characters. You know what I mean?
You're like, well, I really want to say this. It's gonna cost me.
Yeah. Let me just skip to the.
Like, could you imagine getting an argument with your girl a lot, and like every text message is like, "Oh, this is costing me 10 cents."
Yeah. It's funny. I see those every now and then. It's like people's TikToks, and it's like they're like praying for this man, and they zoom in at a kid like sitting in like his college class, and he's like reading through, and you just see his phone is just like all a long text message. Like, I'm praying for you, man.
That ain't good. Yeah.
I like watching those college TikToks. Like, there was this guy like doing big old bong rips in class, and like the teacher was just like, "What?" And like everybody's like standing there looking around, like, "Is this really happening?" And like it's like in a big old giant auditorium, and then on top of that, he like pulls out like a 7-foot bong and like rips it, and just like starts making a menace in class. But it's just like, I don't know, it's funny. It's like those things that you wish you would do or could do.
Like,
Or
hey
just
man,
witness. I saw a guy today.
well, I mean,
middle
that speaks back to like us wanting to like do our reinterpretations of Jackass. Like you see something like that, and automatically you're like, I could do that.
You could take a bong rip in class.
Yeah, like someone film me.
There's like
and
no
then,
talent required, just camera
and the guts
Did
to
you guys-
be able to do something like
Did
that.
you guys ever see that video of that guy? I think it was called Sexy Sax Man. Did you guys ever see that? And he goes and plays the sax line from Careless Whisper.
Yes.
And he does it in this like he's got like a mullet, he's got like aviator glasses, and he's got a leather vest with no shirt underneath and black pants, and he's just like going randomly to places. But he goes inside this like this college auditorium, and the professor's like, "Okay, you need to go," and he's walking down the aisle. And then he does it like at like a restaurant. He like jumps on a table, and they're like, "Okay, you need to leave." He's got like his guy with the camera. He's like, "Hey, play that George Michael song." And he goes, it's just like over and over. It's so funny. But I had a friend who played the saxophone in high school.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, at the assembly today that there's gonna be like, we're gonna get you the vests, and we're gonna have you go out and do it. And I think he punked out. He didn't quite do it then.
Aww.
But he walked through the Commons one day and did it like later, and like
That's
everybody
all right.
was like,
That
yeah,
takes a lot of
everybody's
guts to do that.
Yeah,
as a kid.
And I'm like, plus he was pretty good at the saxophone, so like.
You took all those lessons to get that good.
Yeah, I'm sure his.
Just to make a joke. Hey guys, thanks for listening today. This is the Son of Picasso. I just want to thank you guys for sticking around. Remember to review, subscribe, and check us out on Instagram, Off the Reservation Podcast. And we'll see you guys next week.
Well, Elliot, you used to play the guitar, right? Or you still play the guitar, right?
I used to, yeah. No, I still do. So like music has always been a big part of our lives, and I remember my dad. I forget.
It kind of started with your dad.
It did kind of start with my dad, as far as like. Well, I mean, your dad always sang,
Our dad always sang, but
and my mom too. So I guess our parents just,
I don't know. I mean, it feels like Native Americans are naturally musically talented in some form or way.
It's like, you're native, you can drum.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because you always see like that one Native guy. He'll just like bust out and just start like smacking his leg, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's a drum beat. I get it." And then somebody will start singing something. like smoke signals, John Wayne's teeth, or
It's in your blood.
it's in our blood. So if you're native, you got a lot of things you can do.
Embrace those roots, those
Embrace the beat.
yeah.
Those rhythmic roots.
Remember, turn the beat around.
That's what we're here for, people. Turn the beat around. But like I remember it was really I don't know what got my dad into like wanting to get a guitar.
He wanted to be a rock star, man.
I think so. Maybe maybe he had some aspirations of being a rock star. But
Do you think he just found it at like a garage sale?
no, I remember. So we got our first guitar. Well, okay, yeah. So actually, you're right. We were at the dump. I think we were at the dump taking some finishing up a job or whatever
Yeah.
we were doing, dropping off some like lawn trimmings or whatever. And there was a guy next to us that was throwing away this old guitar, and it was cracked, And so he was like, "Yeah, it's trash." And I don't think my dad even paid him anything. I think the guy was just like, "Yeah, if you want it, go ahead," So yeah, my dad took it back. He took it home. And him being the craftsman that he is, he repaired it, with some wood glue, clamped it in, sanded it down. And
That was always cool about your dad, because your dad always was able to like fix
just
almost anything.
fix whatever the problem was.
Oh my god, dude! Your dad used to like help me with like shop class projects.
Oh, really?
Like we would like make cars and all kinds of stuff,
that's
and like
cool.
kids would turn in like the crappiest little car, and like there I was in 8th grade with like hand lathed stuff. You know what I mean? Like your dad would help me solder like bumpers and stuff, like to like these little cool like wooden cars.
Yeah.
And like one time I was like getting out of math class, and like the math teacher was like all into classic cars, and I had made like this Mustang, and he was like, "You made this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "How much you want for it?" And like tried buying my car, and I was like, "I haven't even turned this in, bro. Like, I'll give it to you afterwards." "Oh, okay." And like he hunted me down after school, and he's like, "Can I have it?" And I was like, yeah, okay." Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
But like, so he repairs the guitar, and then we go and get like a set of strings, and we got our first book. I forget what the book was, but we bought a book from the music store, and then he and I both started learning how to play guitar like at the same time, and it was really cool because it was something that he was into. It wasn't just like sports, you know what I mean? Where like you're out there and he's on the sidelines. It was kind of cool, like to do something with him that like it was both of us doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think my first song that we learned how to play was "Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley." And it was just like G, C, G, D.
That's
and it was
classic.
like the first three chords, three chords. And it was cool. So
Those are
anyways,
classic chords.
that's how we started. And then I remember he bought a guitar. First time he ever really
with
bought
those
a guitar.
chords, you could play like any Rolling Stones song.
Yeah, yeah. But I remember the first guitar that he had ever bought was infomercial guitar from Esteban on the Home Shopping Network. I remember just one day he was like, "Yeah, this looks like a pretty good deal." It had like a fake pearl inlay, and it was really nice. We used that guitar for a long time. It was a pretty good sounding
Held
guitar,
up.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it came with like this little amplifier that was really cheesy, but it was cool because it was an electric acoustic, and that was kind of just like the start of us. Like, yeah, that was kind of
Yeah, that was all you
Esteban guitar.
needed.
Promo code Esteban off the reservation.
yeah.
Just kidding. We're not sponsored by Esteban
No.
guitars.
But hey, Esteban, if you want,
You know where we are.
yeah,
I
off
got
the
those leather
reservation.
pants.
play that George Michael song.
On the guitar.
Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of the start, and then ever since then, like he and I had been playing music for ever since then, and yeah, it's always been a great thing for me. Honestly, it's cool because it's something that him and I both share, and like when you talk about like how your dad like inspired your music, choices, or at least like getting that it was cool to have a parent that was so into music, and you got different influences, you know what I mean? It helped shape, I think, what we ended up listening to or look for in music, you know what I mean? Something with like, a good beat or good lyrics or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's kind of interesting because my dad he liked a lot of I guess 60s rock, was
Yeah.
kind of in there. And he had a CD he made. He had a mix that he made. And it was funny because it was just like a bunch of 60s rock songs, and we used to listen to it every day going to school because he worked at the school I went to in high school. And so like, we'd drive to school together in the morning in our van, and he had put like upgraded the stereo to the CD player in there.
Yeah.
And then, he just had, my sister and I, like, it was just like the same songs, and eventually my little sister was just getting like so tired of it. She was like, "Can we listen to something else?" But like it was Dad's car and he was driving, so nope, we're gonna listen to the same songs over and over.
So you gotta listen to what I like.
What is that one song? They do it on Superbad, He's like, "Oh, you're Jimmy's cousin. You're the singer."
Oh,
and he's like,
These eyes.
Yeah, these
I
eyes.
guess
These
who?
eyes. Yeah, that was on there, and I was like, man, I really like this song. And so when Superbad came out, I was like, oh, that's so funny because I love that song,
That he would pick that song to sing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
These eyes.
Man, it's cool when you see things in like pop culture that like really like connect with you in your childhood. Like that.
Well, you know what was kind of crazy for me, because I remember like our dad listened to so much music like that. Like I remember he listened to that Redbone song, the "Come and Get Your Love," and I remember like I was it wasn't actually until I don't know, maybe a couple years ago. I know it was before Guardians of the Galaxy came out, but I ended up finding out, he ended up telling me that Redbone was a native band.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Didn't know that?
I didn't know that until I looked up. I wanted to see if they had to play it live, and man, they were pretty good, man.
Yeah.
That's like that. You gotta like, in order to get your CIB card, you
I
gotta
know,
know like
you could
certain
get that
things.
revoked, for admitting that. But I know now. So,
But yeah, I mean, like the fact that that song was so, I don't know, popular.
it was huge.
It was huge, and I loved the fact that like that it was like a native band, and it was like, I don't know, it's like a badge of pride for me, because I'm like even the guys that I work with, like even like a couple year ago, like when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, one of the guys was like, "Oh, I really love the soundtrack," and he started playing it, and "Come and Get Your Love" came on, and I was like, "Did you know this is a native band?" And he was like, "No, this isn't really." And I was like, "Yeah," and I pulled it up on my phone, and he was like, "Dude, that's so cool." And from then on, he like, whenever it came on, he'd be like, "Hey, did you know that this is a native band?" And he was a Hispanic guy. And so like he shared that around, and I thought it was really cool, because like it went from like me, like myself being like proud of like indigenous artists, to like somebody else being like, "Dude, did you know this?" Like he was proud of indigenous artists too. And it kind of brought up this like whole thing of like realizing that the whole idea that people from Mexico and all these other all the southern countries are still Native Americans.
Yeah,
and I was like,
absolutely.
this guy, he sees himself as Mexicano, but like, it's like, dude, this is your culture too. Like, these are your people. Like,
they're just stuck on that side of the border. They're just as indigenous as we are.
Yeah. I mean, where do you think we got a lot of our parrot feathers from?
Yeah.
Like our macaw
How
feathers?
is that ingrained in our religion?
Yeah.
It's because we had ancestral ties with these people.
So if you're Hispanic, if you're Mexican, if you're from beyond the border down south,
you're our brothers.
You're native too. So be proud.
I think we can get into the politics in a later episode, but I fully believe that they should have all the rights and privileges as the same as us here in the continental, United States of America. And the same with, our brothers that are stuck in Canada and sisters that are stuck in Canada.
Yeah.
They should all have the same rights and privileges that we have here. But that's another episode to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Man.
Yeah, so
yeah, back to music.
Well, so like, I mean, on that subject of music, right? You guys, Malachi, you learned how to play. Well, you played cello
Yeah. Well, we
Back-
both were in the
we
orchestra
did, yeah,
at
we
one
both played
point.
orchestra. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you
What
guys
did you
were in the
play?
school
Cello.
orchestra.
Yeah.
So we
See,
both
like when
played
I was
cello.
growing up, like
Cello
things like
brothers.
that, like programs like that didn't exist at
Yeah.
all. Like they had
Yeah?
cut the arts. Yeah,
Man.
there was no school orchestra.
Well, we were lucky because we both went to the same middle school. Honestly, we went to the same school our entire lives
Sure did.
with the rest of our 15 cousins.
School of Hard Knocks.
It was. Yeah. It's because it was all the same school district as my grandparents. That's why.
Like we previously said, we were all listed under Grandma's house.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we all went to the same schools most of the time. Yeah.
Did we ever play in the same like orchestra, or was
I don't think so. I think we were just a year apart, so that when I started, you had just left middle school, and then I didn't play in high school.
No, I was.
See, I thought that was so cool that
you and
guys
Shauna though.
knew
Yeah,
how to read music. Like you could look at like sheet music and read it. Like
that's a very broad statement.
well, you could look at it and like decipher notes. Like it looked like
No.
hieroglyphics to me.
No, honestly, yeah, and I always tell people this. I can't. I still can't.
Really?
No, I didn't pay enough attention, man.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and you know what kind of ruined it for me was playing guitar and understanding and just knowing what a chord was on a guitar. Like I didn't care to learn the notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just like, oh, I
Not
know
classically
how to,
trained.
I know how to just do the basic, basics of a song and just play the chords and not have to worry about actual notes. But yeah, I didn't pay enough attention, man, and I regret that. I do regret it, people.
I mean, I think the big thing that I came away from orchestra was, especially doing it in middle school, was the fact that music could be fun. Like even classical, instruments like that, like the
Yeah.
cello, the violin, the viola, the bass, the stand-up bass, and everything. And I mean, our teacher, you had her too, Miss Melhorn.
Oh yeah.
She was, I don't know, I think she was like a closet nerd with us because she would talk about like playing video games.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she was the coolest, man.
And she was so cool. And she had us play the what was it, the track from Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
And oh my gosh, dude, like my favorite part was like playing the Riders of Rohan.
Oh yeah.
And like and it was just like so intense because like you'd be pulling your bow across the strings, and then it would like the breath of the cello would just like vibrate like your entire body as you're like going, and you're like, yeah, I'm getting into this, it was just so cool. Like I got super into it. But once I got to high school, I had a teacher and she was not very.
Oh yeah, man. The teacher in high school was
She wasn't
just
as
wasn't.
fun.
No. Really, I agree. I think the teacher makes it, but also like the students. You know what I mean? Your friends that you had in there. It was,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I probably knew how to read more music in middle school than I did in high school, partially because our teacher didn't make it fun in high school, and she was always on me about practicing when I'm not at school. And let's face it, when you're a kid, you don't want to practice when you're at
Yeah.
home. You want to go do like other cool stuff.
yeah. But yeah, no, that's why I didn't follow it through high school.
Well, now I want to. Recently, I've been like, man, having a kid and everything. I kind of want to get another cello, and I want to, invest in like a violin and a couple of other instruments. And it's
a couple more kids, you get yourself a band.
Yeah, get yourself an orchestra.
swing
We got a full orchestra here.
a quartet, get a
Yeah.
quartet going, and
That's
go to
just-
dinner parties.
Yeah, it's just like what, in 15 years you're gonna be playing for. It's a 15-year investment there before your kids are really out there playing. But then, so then naturally that moved to the bass because
Well, yeah, eventually,
because you have your cello, you turn it sideways.
in
Cello,
you have a bass, right? Yes.
Yeah, no, I remember because once you started playing guitar, we eventually got involved with the church band, and eventually, Son of Picasso, you ended up playing the drums. And
Yeah, I think it's because I couldn't play anything else. No, I think I had learned how to play the guitar, but I had learned how to read tablatures, right? And like some of the things you guys wanted played were just like way over my head. And
well, we learned chords.
and at the same time, like I love like hip hop, and so like playing like the drums with a hip hop beat was pretty easy to do. But it was kind of funny because everything we played had a hip hop sound to it. So.
And then that led to you guys just being like, "Hey, you guys want to play bass?" And so I was like, sure, I can play bass, I think."
Hey man, we need a bass player.
But I think what was cool is like the fact that like I had no idea how to read chords or anything like that, and you actually taught me. And it wasn't like a in-depth like, okay, here's the theory behind chords. No, you were just like, all right, just follow whatever my hand's doing and see if you can play like the note with that. And
All right, guys, give me a G. Give me a G. Here we go. All right, a little faster. Dum, dum, dum. That's it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of that. I mean, honestly, that's kind of how it worked because
Yeah.
you were like, all right, this is how it goes, and you kind of played the beat, and I was like, oh, okay, I hear that, and then eventually I was like, oh, you're moving this way, and I remember eventually, I felt like I got pretty good, like I was able to slide up and down the bass.
Oh, you
Do all
guys,
kinds of
you guys
things.
played really good.
Man, yeah. We should have figured out how to play the Seinfeld.
I still have okay. So after the band and everything, eventually I was like, oh, I want to try to advance a little bit. So I got myself a 6-string or no, a 5-string bass. And I was like, sweet, I'm going to learn how to figure this out. And then everything kind of petered out after that. And now I still have a 5-string bass. So I want to play. Which is cool because it sits in my room and every once in a while I pick it up, but my son will.
You know what you
will
should
pick it up.
do is you should go and study Paul McCartney's bass lines from his early Beatles stuff.
That'd be cool.
That guy is crazy on the bass, man. And if I had been playing bass, like or if I that's what I would tell you. That's my suggestion is just go study Paul McCartney, man, because he can put a bass line together and it doesn't make sense. It just when you look at it, if you're reading like the tabs or something, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel like it makes sense. But then when you think about it and you put the other music in with it, man, it just makes the song.
Oh, because he had style.
Yeah,
he had style to.
Because you can just play the regular notes, to a chord, and there's no like soul in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just feels like you're just playing the. You know what I mean? But like that's one thing I want to do is like really study the bass lines. Paul McCartney, man, that's good stuff.
See, I feel the same way about drumming, like about John Bonham. Like you could just see like Led Zeppelin drummer, like the stuff that he would do. You're just like, how is he moving faster than the speed of sound? You know what I mean? He wants to hit this cymbal and have it ring at this particular time, and he's just and it comes in because there's just a little bit of delay, and he knows when to hit it, so it comes in at the right time, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much talent in just moving your hands. Like it's a trip. But yeah.
Well, the power is with you guys. You guys have that ability. It's in you.
Most definitely. I mean, anyone who's listening, if you're even curious about instruments or to picking up, a ukulele, as I've heard before, is only $20.
What's funny? We were talking when we were setting up, but I had a friend that would always get us thrown out of class for beatboxing in class. And like he could do like 6 sounds at once. You know what I mean? Like with the bass line, the snare, the like melody, and then the lyrics too. And you're just like, how is he doing this?
Yeah,
But,
it's amazing.
yeah. Be like telling the
Guy's a
teacher,
whole
you
sound
don't
machine."
understand, teacher. Like this is art.
You just don't get it.
You just don't get it. You don't understand.
She'd be
me.
like, okay, back to algebra.
No, but like really, like if you guys are interested in music, pursue it, and like you said, don't get hung up on like having the most expensive equipment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if you
do
really
it.
want to learn something, just find the best instrument you can afford and that
and work
you
off
can
that.
afford.
I mean,
Yeah. $20 ukulele. Start
$20
there.
ukulele.
And YouTube is probably your best friend when it comes to like learning stuff. So
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
I mean, for anything, if you need to find out anything, go to
Yeah.
YouTube.
If you need to repair a guitar, go to YouTube. If you need to make a replica of a Mustang, go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube.
I can't imagine what my dad would have been like if YouTube was around when he was younger.
Oh,
need
I
to
know.
fix
Could you
your
imagine
drive?
he'd like just set up a camera and record your dad? Would be like YouTube famous.
Yeah, my
like,
dad would have. Yeah.
You could do that.
Because your dad was like a woodsman, like a just all around worksman, like make metal stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I definitely like I definitely have that like from him that like ability to be like I want to fix this. I think I could fix this. You know. Oh man, I saw a 3D printer the other day and I was like, ooh, that would be cool. But then I thought, what am I gonna 3D print enough to warrant spending this much money on it? Yeah. But hey,
You could create action figures.
yeah, I guess you could.
You can make an Optimus Prime. You could 3D print a ukulele.
There you go, guys. You could do that. 3D print your ukulele and then
Or
just,
violin.
Just start learning.
Violin. They're about the same size.
Yeah.
Click print.
That's it, guys. Well, that's the show for today.
All
I want to
right.
thank y'all for joining us.
And remember, everybody, to rate, review, and subscribe. And, join us next week as we release another episode at 6 a.m. here, bright and early in the morning. Come and join
Every
us.
Monday. Yeah,
Every
we're
Monday.
dropping episodes every Monday on YouTube. We're on Anchor. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, guys.
Just hit that
We're
notification
everywhere.
button. And,
Just look for us, Off the Reservation Podcast.
just Google. Find us on YouTube.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
And like I remember specifically one time when you went down to wrestle for state and the guy bit you. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that was
like,
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
got
didn't know
bit.
that.
And like I look back at him like I was mad at myself because I was like I never should have let you go back in the ring and wrestle him again. He should have been disqualified. But I remember looking at you and I was like, Mal, just drop this kid. Just mop the floor with him. And like I just remember his feet just going boom. And like Mal just kept just going, like took him like to school.